Hey, this is Lee again, just kind of doing another little rant video. I've got 12 minutes, so I'm gonna have to do sort of a concise little deal. Talking about ganja or marijuana or cannabis. Actually, the term marijuana was a term that was made up to help keep it banned or to ban it. Because when they made it illegal, they had this whole conspiracy kind of theory that they put out that it was brought by Mexicans, so that were raping and having sex with white women as well as black men, and they used the term marijuana as kind of like a racist label for it. But yeah, I've consumed cannabis since I was a kid. Smoked it a little bit when I was 16 or 17 and off and on, during my 20s and my late teens. I quit for a while. And I always smoked it kind of semi regularly, not on a very regular basis, but in my mid to late 30s, I started to develop kind of an intestinal disorder. And I was on a substance called dicyclamine, which is sort of a muscle relaxant that helps sort of relax the muscles in your intestinal lining. That's the problem I had. I had overactive muscles in my intestinal lining, and so I was taking dicyclamine, but the dicyclamine kind of the dosage that they had me on kind of was causing problems with my liver. So I had a friend of mine that was in the medical marijuana community that said, "Hey, maybe you should try cannabis." And I did, because my liver was having problems at the time, so I needed some other thing to help medicate, help deal. I was already doing like a strict diet. I tried cutting out gluten. I tried cutting out greasy food. There's lots of different things that trigger when you have overactive guts. But I tried cannabis and using it on a regular basis and found that it helped to treat my intestinal problems, or they were almost nil. I still had some problems with it, but I could still, I could drink coffee again. I could also drink soda again and eat hamburgers without having that much problems. Um, I've also, kind of used cannabis kind of to tune my ear when I work on music. I like to smoke a little bit and get into sort of a certain state. I've used cannabis as a substance to help deal with or treat anxiety. It works really good at dealing with anxiety, PTSD. Um, I've used it for helping with my depression. It's a pretty versatile substance as far as medicinal, and that's not even, the psychoactive. The THC has some definite psychological benefits, like with anxiety, depression, PTSD. Sometimes it helps out with people who have ADD. It helps kind of slow you down a little bit, kind of takes the edge off, helps relax you, it mellows you out. It opens up your ears a lot. Your senses get a little bit sharper, kind of dulled, but sharper at the same time. I don't know how to explain it, like expanded. Because you normally, in your psyche, have sort of a normal peripheral range. And when you introduce certain substances to your brain, it kind of takes down, there's a gate that's on your peripheral range that your body naturally, your psyche naturally puts up, or your brain, as kind of a protectant, because too much information normally that you come in would kind of drive you crazy. And that's how you kind of get the background noise in schizophrenia. And I guess there has been some links that if you have inclinations towards schizophrenia, cannabis can make it worse, which makes sense because it sort of hits a lot of the same spots. But, one of the effects besides, with the CBD in it, calming your guts and your intestines, and the THC that kind of hits your brain and helps you deal with anxiety and depression. And I've used it to help me in stronger doses to deal with insomnia. It help me to put me to sleep when I need to go to sleep. But generally, like, it gives me sort of a sense of well-being. You know, it's just like I have said before in my other video. I don't like being dependent on a substance. You know, I don't need it anymore. You know, I do use CBD oils a lot to help with my guts, and you don't get high off of the CBD oil. CBD oil is just purely a physical aspect that has physical effects within the cannabis plant, and no psychoactive elements. But CBD oil, you can smoke it in a vapor, or you can eat it, and it will help kind of like with muscle spasms and things like that. It works really good with restless leg syndrome and stuff too. And there's a lot longer list as far as the medicinal uses of it. You know, I guess that it's been used. There's a strain that's called Charlotte's Web that helps treat a young girl that has a seizure disorder, and it now makes it where she used to have like 10 or 13 a day or some crazy amount, and now she only has like one every 7 days. The other thing, I'm not going to get really too far deep in because it's a rabbit hole. I could spend a half an hour just talking about the medicinal benefits of cannabis, but one of the other things it's been used for is to treat. It's a very good treatment for nausea. People who have cancer treatment or chemo will use cannabis a lot to treat nausea, so they don't have problems with wasting or losing weight because they're too sick to eat. They're doing research in Israel. This is, I'm not a big fan of Israel, but Israel is like the forefront of doing research on cannabis. And I guess in Israel, they are doing research on cannabis and using it to treat cancer. They've had people who have done studies with the unofficial studies, not mainstream yet. You know, once the science gets a hold of it, but there is a formula of an oil, which is like a concentrate made from cannabis called Rick Simpson oil. And Rick Simpson oil is a super concentrated THC and CBD. You take, you know, a large amount and you bring it down, and you take that super concentrated amount, and it's supposed to help treat cancer. Apparently, Tommy Chong used Rick Simpson oil to treat his prostate cancer he has. But as far as like, I like to focus a little more on the psychoactive effects of it. I think it does sometimes, you know, aid in creativity. Like I said, it does something to your perception or your peripherals. Like, your brain has a natural filter, which is like a gate that protects your psyche from getting in too much information, because your brain could take in a lot. There's a lot more stimulus out there that you could take in, but your brain does a good job of limiting that so that you don't get overwhelmed with too much information. It sticks to sort of the essential things. But when you take a substance like, say, cannabis, it sort of causes your senses to get a little bit sharper, your ears get a little bit more tuned, colors become a little bit more vibrant, your sense of time kind of slows down a lot. The kind of puts you in sort of a state, you know, a real nice mellow state where you can be in it's a good mental space too for working on creative projects. So I've used cannabis for that when I'm working on creative projects that I do, like especially music, or if I'm working on writing, or I actually like to smoke a little bit before I go for a bike ride, and I'll put my headphones in and put some sort of repetitive sounding meditational music so I can kind of find my zen when I ride my bike. You know, I'll just go for miles and come up and through the mountains and just sit and kind of appreciate my heightened sense of the sound that I have when I'm sitting at the brook and listening to the brook, and and then I'll just kind of sit and listen to the wind rush through the leaves and watch the trees kind of go and the clouds roll, and then get lost in the moment and all practice kind of like my meditational techniques that I've learned, that I've studied, and to sort of kind of push it a little farther where I get that sort of state. And cannabis can kind of help. Now, I don't need any substance to get to alter my state of consciousness to sort of find sort of higher sense or perception, because I can do that purely through techniques, the purely mental or meditational techniques to sort of attune or to focus my senses more. But it is kind of work as a cheat, though, cannabis does. Um, Music does sounds a lot better when you're stoned, I guess. Um, and as far as it does kill the anxiety that I do. I normally have some issues with anxiety, so it does help kill the anxiety problems that I do have, and helps deal with depression. Kind of sort of brings down the edges of depression. So yeah, like I said before, I don't like being dependent on substance. I don't need it, but it does. I don't use it all the time. But if I do like the positive benefits from it, and I don't really see it as a harmful substance at all. Sometimes I guess it does kind of like kill my motivation, but sometimes I don't need motivation. I just need to relax. So anyway, that's sort of a brief summary of cannabis. So if you like this video, click on the like below and subscribe to my channel, and I'll have more videos for you to watch. So thank you.